Okay, so you watched a video just a minute ago on parallel lines, okay? And just a quick review. Parallel lines are lines, like the video said, that they run parallel to each other. If they went on forever and ever and ever, they would never cross, okay? So let's say I have a line that looks like this. Now, these lines are not parallel because if I added a dotted line, and we could see if they continued on forever, they're going to meet right here. They're going to cross. So what we have are parallelograms that have sides that are parallel to each other and that they will never cross, okay? So let's open up our student activity book to page 303, okay? So if we look at figure A, we can see that this line and this line are parallel. If they continue on forever, they are not going to cross, okay? Likewise, we can look at this line and this line, and we can see they're like railroad tracks. They are never going to cross. So all of these shapes right here on A, B, C, D, and E, if we look at them all, they're all going to be parallelograms. But if we look at these figures in F, G, H, I, and J, we can see that these lines are not parallel because if this line continues on forever, it's going to cross this line, okay? And if we look at H, we have lines that are crossing already, right? So those are not parallelograms. So let's take a look at this question right here. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with opposite sides. So opposite sides, this side and this side, are parallel with each other, okay? So all opposite sides are parallel to each other, okay? So that's a really quick lesson on parallelograms, okay? So down here on this bottom side, we're going to measure the sides of parallelograms. So you're going to use a ruler, and we want to measure to centimeters, and we want you to measure these out, okay? So I want you to go ahead and measure out the parallelograms. You do not have to worry about number 5. I want you to practice measuring these ones so that we can use that in the future, okay? We're going to talk about area and perimeter coming up again. So I want you to practice measuring those sides. Go ahead and pause the video, and when you're done measuring the sides, then I want you to come back, okay? All right, go ahead and get them measured. Give you a second. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to look at page 304 for a second, and we're going to talk about rectangles, squares, and rhombuses. Okay, and we are going to talk about the differences between the three of them, okay? Now, rectangles are, if we look at these, all of these are rectangles. And as what a rectangle is a parallelogram, but rectangles have 4 90-degree angles, okay? So that's a 90, that's a 90, that's a 90. Okay, this is a 90, this is a 90, this is a 90, and this is a 90. Okay? So, rectangles are parallelograms with 4 90-degree angles. Now, I know what you're saying. You're seeing this guy right over here, right? And I know what you're thinking. You're like, Mr. Swenson, a rectangle is this one over here that I'm going to circle in green. And the one that I circled in blue looks like a square. Were you absolutely right? A square is a type of rectangle. So listen closely. A square is a type of a rectangle. So it is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. The difference between a square, why a square is a different kind of rectangle, is that we know that all of the sides are the same length. So a square is a type of rectangle. So a rectangle, if we come down here, a rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. Okay? So, let's come down to the bottom of this one. These figures are squares, and these figures are rhombuses. Okay? So, again, a square has, let me get my highlighter, all the same sides are the same length. And they all have 90-degree angles. Okay? So, let's talk about how that's different than a rhombus. A rhombus is also a parallelogram. They also have 4 sides that are the same length. But they do not have to have a right angle. So if we look right here, let me change my color. If we look right here, we can see that these angles are not right angles. Okay? But they are parallelograms, and all the sides are the same length. Okay? Now, a rhombus...
Hey, Tate.
Yes.
So, I just had a request for Ms. Shippen's class.
Okay, sorry about that interruption. We got that taken care of. So, a rhombus is a parallelogram with equal sides. So, like in this case, this shape, let me circle it. This shape would be a parallelogram. It would also be a rectangle. It would also classify as a square, and it would also be a rhombus because it meets all of those. So this shape right here is a parallelogram. It is a rectangle because it has 4 right angles. A special kind of rectangle called the square that has 4 sides the same, and it's also a rhombus. Okay? So when we get into classifying, they're going to be a little bit interesting. So a square is a rectangle with 4 equal sides. Okay? A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides. But it's a parallelogram. This is a rectangle. Rectangles have 4 90-degree angles. So, is what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video, and your assignment today is what I want you to do is I want you to classify each of these. Now, it could be a quadrilateral, a parallelogram, a rectangle, and a square. Okay, so we talked about quadrilaterals the other day. We talked about parallelograms, rectangles, and squares. Okay, so that's kind of the nice thing. We don't have to worry too much about a rhombus as we go into it. Okay, but we could add that in for extra credit if we wanted to. So pause the video, try 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then I want you to play it back and check your answers, okay? All right, so really quick, quadrilateral, okay? Does anyone remember the definition of a quadrilateral? Do we need to go back and look? Let's turn back the book. Let's go back. So, a quadrilateral is a figure with 4 sides, okay? But the sides have to be straight lines, right? So, if we look, we're going to see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, I can go through each of these, and I know that they are all a quadrilateral, okay? Because it has 4 sides. Parallelogram. Opposite sides are parallel. We have that here, don't we? So we have a parallelogram. Rectangle. We need 4 right angles. And we have that. So this is a rectangle. Okay. A square. All 4 sides are the same. Let's take a look. These sides is the same, but this one is way longer. So this is not a square. Okay. All right. So let's go down to number 10. 4 sides. Let's take a look. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a quadrilateral. Okay. Parallelogram. Are the lines parallel? No, they meet. So it's not a parallelogram. Rectangle. Do we have any square angles? Right angles. 90-degree angles? We do not. And if it's not a rectangle, it cannot be a square, right? Because a square is a type of rectangle. So that means that number 10 is only a quadrilateral. Number 11. Well, let's take a look. Do we have 4 sides? 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 sides, so we have do have a quadrilateral, don't we? Okay. Are they parallel? If they continue on forever, are they the same? Are they parallel? Yes, they are parallel. So we have parallelograms right here. Okay. Now, a rectangle. Do we have 4? Let me erase this. Getting too much going on here. We can't even see what we're doing. Do we have 4 sides the same length? It looks like that, no, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. I was thinking square. We're looking for 4 right angles. Do we have 4 right angles? We do, so this is a rectangle. Okay, now, are each of the sides the same length? Yes, they are the same length. So this would be a square. Now, because it's a parallelogram, and because it has 4 sides that are the same, we could also classify this one as a rhombus. So that's not one of our word banks, but we're going to go ahead and put that, I'm going to add that on there because it's something for us to kind of work on. So rhombus, R-H-O-M-B-U-S, rhombus, okay? I'm going to add that one there, okay? All right, so now let's come down to this last one, number 12. Does it have 4 sides that connect? It does. So we do have a quadrilateral, okay? Quadrilateral. That's a bugger of a one to write. Are they parallel? So if my lines continue on forever, those are parallel, right? Let's take a look at these ones. If these lines continue on forever, are they parallel? They are. So we have a parallelogram as well. Okay. Now, do we have 4 right angles or 4 90-degree angles? In order for it to be a 90-degree angle, it would need to be something out here, right? So it's less than that, so it is not a 90-degree angle. So it cannot be a rectangle. If it's not a rectangle, it can't be a square. But it could be a rhombus if the sides are the same length. But these sides and these sides to me look different lengths, so it couldn't be a rhombus as well. Okay? All right. Hopefully you had a good time with that video. If you have any questions, double check, watch the video again, and maybe I'll try to add some more YouTube videos to help you out with it. All right. Good luck.